Welcome back to the Explainer and to the next phase of our ultimate wealth masterclass. Okay, let's dive straight into this. So in our previous discussions, we basically ripped the lid off the illusion of the modern banking system, right? We discovered a pretty harsh reality. Fiat currency is acting like a melting ice cube. It's a system that's literally designed to slowly drain your family's purchasing power over time. You work incredibly hard, you save your money, but the actual real-world value of that capital, it just keeps slipping away. Now, up to this point, we've secured your foundation. But if we want to truly protect your wealth, we have to look toward a totally different framework. Now, I know what you're thinking, because this raises the absolute biggest skeptical barrier to entry. Honestly, this is the exact question that stops 99% of regular people from stepping into the future of finance. They hear about a decentralized currency like Bitcoin, with no central bank backing it, no government regulating it, and no CEOs sitting in some corner office, and they naturally panic. They ask, wait, how can we actually trust it? Like, what's stopping some brilliant hacker sitting in a basement somewhere from just breaking into the system, changing the numbers on a screen, and stealing billions of dollars out of thin air? Honestly, it's a completely fair question. While the answer to that anxiety lies inside an unhackable digital architecture known as the blockchain. Now, I know most people assume blockchain is just some wildly complex database built for tech nerds, but in reality, it is hands down the most powerful digital trust machine mankind has ever invented. Give me the next 90 seconds, and I'm going to decode the exact mathematical reason why it is structurally, fundamentally impossible for any hacker, government, or dictator to shut this network down. We are going to decode the actual mechanics of trust. To truly grasp the genius of this technology, I want you to picture a giant public ledger. Just imagine a simple everyday notebook where every single transaction that has ever happened is written down with absolute precision. Now, in the traditional old-world financial system, this notebook is kept completely hidden away. It sits locked inside a highly secure, centralized bank vault. If the bank suddenly wants to alter a transaction, or, if a government decides to freeze your funds, they just quietly change the numbers inside their private, closed-off database. And you're left completely powerless. But blockchain completely flips the structure upside down through absolute decentralization. Instead of one hidden notebook, it instantly distributes exact, perfect copies of this digital notebook to millions of people all at once. So you might be asking, how are all these copies managed if there's no bank tellers sitting there stamping papers? Well, Satoshi Nakamoto's absolute genius was completely removing the vulnerable human manager. Instead of relying on a bank teller, the record-keeping power is handed over to a massive global network of independent computers, which we call nodes. Right now, as we speak, there are millions of these nodes running all over the world, from massive server farms to just ordinary laptops in someone's living room. And they are all running identical, perfectly synchronized copies of that digital ledger. There's no single point of failure anymore. There's simply no one vault to break into. Let's walk through exactly how this builds into an unstoppable process in real time. When you send a transaction on the blockchain, it absolutely does not sit in a queue waiting for a human manager at a bank to approve it. No way. Step 1. Your transaction is instantly broadcasted to the entire global network of nodes. Step 2. All these computers immediately race to solve highly complex mathematical puzzles to verify that you actually own the exact funds you're trying to spend. Step 3. The network reaches a consensus, meaning there's an overwhelming agreement that yes, the math checks out perfectly. And finally, step 4. That transaction is permanently locked inside a digital block and changed to the previous block forever. Okay, so the absolutely crucial takeaway here hinges on just one specific number, 51%. This number represents the literal physical impossibility of cheating the system. This right here is the ultimate proof for why your wealth is actually safe. You see, if a hacker wants to beat this system, they can't just find a sneaky backdoor into one single server. Because of how these blocks are cryptographically chained together, trying to change even one tiny record requires changing all of them. To successfully fake a transaction and steal wealth, a hacker would literally have to simultaneously compromise over 51% of all those millions of computers spread across the entire planet. They would have to rewrite the math on a global scale in a matter of minutes. And that creates a totally immutable history of data. The sheer computing power and the literal electricity required to pull off a 51% attack makes hacking the network mathematically and financially impossible. The actual cost to attack the network is vastly higher than whatever you could ever hope to steal from it. Because hacking this decentralized network is mathematically impossible, it provides a level of security that no traditional bank on Earth could ever dream of matching. But with that incredible power comes a pretty major, life-changing shift in personal responsibility. In the old financial matrix, you don't actually own your assets. Seriously, think about that for a second. You own a claim check issued by a bank.
If that bank goes bankrupt or chooses to restrict your access, your wealth essentially vanishes into thin air. But over in the decentralized universe, the script is totally flipped. You become your own personal central bank. There is absolutely no one standing between you and your money.
And this brings us to a foundational concept in this space: self-custody. This is the practice of holding the literal private keys to your digital estate. By taking self-custody, you are cutting out the middleman completely. You aren't asking a financial institution for permission to access your own wealth. You are holding the digital keys to the vault yourself. It is the ultimate expression of financial independence, for sure, but it does require you to understand exactly what it is you're holding.
Now, a private key is not just your standard password like you'd use for your email or your social media accounts. It's way more than that. It is a highly advanced cryptographic string of data. It serves as mathematical, undeniable proof of your absolute ownership over a specific location on the global public ledger. Remember, the ledger itself is public, but only the person holding this exact, unique cryptographic string has the authority to actually move the assets stored at that specific address.
Of course, if this key is so incredibly powerful, you definitely can't just leave it sitting in a random text file on your desktop, right? And that's exactly where the cold storage wallet comes in. This is an isolated, offline hardware device. By storing your private keys inside a cold storage wallet, you take your assets completely off the vulnerable internet infrastructure. You're effectively building an unhackable digital fortress around your capital. So even if your daily laptop gets totally infected with viruses, the keys to your wealth remain perfectly isolated and safe offline. The ultimate end result of this entire architecture is what we call unstoppable wealth. When you combine the mathematical security of the blockchain with offline self-custody, you achieve absolute financial freedom. As our source material outlines, in this system, there are no corporate platforms that can just change their terms of service on you overnight. There are no corrupt politicians or international banking cartels that can dictate what you do with your own money. No outside entity can ever touch, freeze, or confiscate your capital without your explicit cryptographic permission. You are entirely sovereign. And this leads us to what is perhaps the most mind-bending reality of decentralized trust. Because your wealth is secured by mathematics on a global network, your private key can actually be translated into a simple, human-readable format known as a seed phrase. As the source text highlights, you can literally carry $1 billion worth of value across international borders inside a device smaller than a USB drive. Or, incredibly, simply by memorizing a 12-word seed phrase in your head. I mean, think about that. Your entire fortune, completely unseizable, floating purely in your own memory. It's just an astonishing physical reality. We started out today by asking how we could possibly trust a system without a CEO or a vault. The answer is that we replaced fallible humans with immutable mathematics, and we gave the keys directly to you. So I want to leave you with this final thought to take away from our explainer today. If you have the ability to hold the keys to an impenetrable financial fortress strictly within your own mind, completely outside the old financial matrix, who really controls your destiny? The power has shifted, everyone. It's time to take control of your financial future.